Today I'm going to be talking about the Tia Maria project. And this is a mining project that took place in Peru, which is a great example of extractivism. I'm going to be going over a short introduction so you really get to know what the Tia Maria project is all about. I'm going to talk about who was involved in the project, who owns the land, the communities that were affected. I'm going to talk about social conflicts that took place between the owners, the government, and the people around this area. And then I'm going to talk about how the people took action. And I'm going to be talking about solutions, but this is the big but. This project is still taking place, so there isn't really any current solutions except the fact that the project is on halt, which has been a big success for the Peruvian people. Now, the Tia Maria mine is a large copper deposit. It has about 711 million tons of ore graded 0.36% copper, which is copper that they could mine and then export to other countries. Now, the Southern Peru Copper Corporation controlled this project. This has killed 6 people so far in protest from their security forces and the military. The project finally ended in 2021. However, many families are still affected, and you're going to find out why. Now, I want to talk about involvement. And I want to start out by talking about this mine was granted approval by the Peruvian Ministry of Energy and Mining. So it has government approval, so the government is on the corporation's side in this instance and not in the people's side, which we see a lot in Latin America. The Geoservice Energia was an engineering and consulting firm in charge of the EIA studies, which is basically just the environmental studies and the impact on the environment around that area. Now, the Southern Peru Copper Corporation is who owns this land now. And they are going to turn a profit of about 1.4 billion US dollars. Now, I want you to really understand how much that is. And they are going to do anything to make this project go through. Now, social protesters started because local farmers were really in fear that this project could contaminate the water in the surrounding areas. And this is water that they feed their plants with. Not only that, but their families also drink this water. And that's why a lot of other people around this area have been getting involved. Farmers around this area are also very scared that this is going to cover up their crops in dust. And this dust is not good for those crops that they're trying to feed the people with. And it may even cause those crops to be unable to grow. Now, the communities that were affected by this mine were living in the Tambu Valley communities. And this is where a lot of water resources are for this community and farming that happens to feed the people in the Tambu Valley. And the farming that happens here is mainly by a very poor rural farmer. You can see a lot of the protesters here at the bottom of my screen. And this is really who lives here. And a lot of times who corporations pick on is the poor farmer that can't really do anything or stand up for himself or herself. However, they did band together as a community to stop this project because environmental groups got very scared about water pollution, soil degradation. They were scared about the destruction of natural habitation. I mean, you can see here that this is what, in the bottom picture, the normal farmland looks like to the side, where you can see the fields are really green, there's trees all over the place. Then these people are looking down in this mine, and it has just been stripped of all vegetation and really just destroying that land. Surrounding indigenous communities could be impacted by this because they could expand. They could take their resources away. There's talk about a dam actually being put up so that water can be rerouted towards this mine for the engineers and the miners. And this would take that water away from indigenous communities, which would force them, obviously, to then leave their community. And then by leaving that community, they're also leaving behind a lot of times their cultural heritage and that culture that they really want to teach to their children, but may not be able to if they're forced to move somewhere else. So this brings social rights activists into it. They want to make sure that there's a clean environment for all these people. They want to make sure there's access to water for everyone, all the way going to the indigenous population to the farmers that live in this area. And they want to make sure that the government is making the proper decisions about this mining, and they're not just focusing on how to turn a profit and benefiting their economy, because at the end of the day, these are people's lives that we're talking about. Now, a lot of social conflicts have happened because of this project. Protests were meant to halt mining and really show negative effects of this project. However, what actually happened is when they protested, the mining corporation and government sent out police, military, security forces, and ended up killing some of the protests. Even a police officer was killed because of these protests, which is obviously very negative effects. And so many fights with security guards have turned violent because the mining corporation isn't worried about what happens to these people. They're just worried about turning a profit. And the Peruvian government is obviously on the corporation's side because they want to see their economy benefited and this profit turned. So they declared states of emergency, restricting citizens' rights to protest in certain areas, putting a curfew on, making them go to bed at a certain time. And they've deployed even more security forces to protect that mine from the people. Now, negotiations have been going on between local communities, the Peruvian government, and this mining company to try and find alternatives in a peaceful way and to try and find a solution so that this mining can happen to benefit both the economy but also protect the people around it and the economy. Taking action. The people took action to stop this. Now, they protested against the mining corporation, against the government. But as you can see here, the government and the mining corporation just sent more security forces to stop them, to push them back with violence, not trying to find a peaceful solution to this project. Legal actions were taken, and you saw in 2011 and 2015 there was 2 stops put to this project because of the legal actions, where the mining company actually did not have the proper papers filed with the government. Now, road blockades have been put up to try and stop the engineers from entering construction sites, the miners from entering it, trying to stop certain mining equipment from going into the mine. Government negotiations have constantly been taking place to try and stop this mining project and to find a peaceful end to it. There's been awareness raised about this. A lot of media sources have seen this. You can find this in the media all the way in Europe because of how much these people have reached out for help and how serious of an impact this is making on the people and the environment. Now, this has been all destroyed. All their good work has been destroyed by their new president. Now, Dina Boluarte did sign as vice president against this mine. However, now as president, she's changed and now she's signing for the mine and is with the corporations. There's been threats of protests and demonstrations that have been taking place. There's lots of rejections again from the local farmers. There's been no violence, but there's also been no clear leaders of the protest. And there were clear leaders last time that were all thrown in prison because of protesting. However, The Peruvian government is going to move forward with this project, she says, even if it means building a dam to supply water to the farmers and to the miners. Now, this is just going to turn the water away from surrounding villages, which are the indigenous people. So, what she's basically saying here is that she's going to fix one problem by causing another problem. So, this really isn't a solution. And lots of government negotiations are still taking place between the people and the Peruvian government to try and find a better solution to this. This is a current project that's still happening, and you can keep up with it in the news for more recent articles that will be coming out in the next couple months. Thank you.